Hello again, Cheeky Monkeys, and welcome again to another episode of Nerd of the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me, as always, this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how you doing?
I'm alive. That might be it.
Is that? You say that as if that's an achievement. Have you gone into battle against the war horde or something?
I started a new job at my work. It's kind of the same thing.
And in our other co-pilot chair is our resident British person, Skyblaze. Skyblaze, how's it going?
Pretty well. I am working on a secret project.
Dun dun dun!
Well,
yes.
I guess that explains the arc reactor delivery that I signed for earlier today.
Shit, you weren't supposed to see that.
Yeah, could you please not ship your Doomsday projects to the office, please?
Fine.
Okay. And, wow, Brian, you're looking kind of lonely over there in the correspondence corner.
Yeah, it is just me, and I'm over here practicing to spell my name correctly, because apparently I have a problem that I didn't know about.
Having an attack of dyslexia over there, Brian?
I'm not sure if it's that or I'm just stupid.
The jury's out.
Jury's out.
Maybe age is catching up with you.
You know what? You can shut up right now. I saw your little Facebook post. I did not appreciate that.
But anyway, yes. Well, we got a fun show tonight. Tonight, Kat is going to regale us with a recap of the finale of Season 3 of Legend of Korra, and we're going to scratch our heads confusedly at the not even 48 hours old announcement that Season 4 is already finished and ready to air. But there is protocol to follow, of course, so we're going to begin our show, as always, with Ask a Geek. And our first question here comes from Sam, and it is for all of us. And it's one that I really like because we're actually 5 years old this month. We've been going on since 2009. So we've reached our 5th anniversary here, which I didn't even realize until I read this question. But Sam wants to know, now that you guys have been doing the show for 5 years, what is your fondest memory of the podcast? Kat, since you are the seasoned veteran here, let's start with you. What's your fondest memory of the show?
It would probably be when we got drunk and played Never Have I Ever.
Damn it!
Yeah, good luck finding something better than that, everyone else. That really was. That was really awesome because it was fulfilling the whole idea that we all just, everybody but Gonzo wanted to get drunk on the show at least once and just be silly. And it was finally us doing it, and it was great.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Okay, Skyblaze, what about you? Your fondest memory of being on the show?
It's kind of tricky. I think next to the live cast, which was glorious, I entirely agree with Kat. The episode where we talked about Doctor Who and converted you to the cause and like made a believer out of you.
Yeah, that's
after that episode, you just became this like Doctor Who evangelist. It was so bizarre. It was like the switch had been clicked. It was like, I understand now.
Well, because like I think after we did that episode, we went on a break, and I like shotgunned all of the first 5 seasons on Netflix, and I came back and I just fell in love with it. So yeah, there you go. That's what did it. Okay, Brian, what about you? Fondest memory of the show?
Well, for me, it was actually probably when I sort of got together and did the Dasher Hatfield interview. Because I was a little bit nervous to do that, to go out and ask a professional to come onto a show and actually to get it done after some troubles. But the reason it's sort of one of my fondest memories is that I was sort of opened myself up going, hey, I'm also sort of a fan of this. And everyone's like, that's awesome and cool. I was like, oh, kind of getting that accepted to it. And not to mention that afterwards, he said it was one of like the best interviews he's ever done before. And I was like, that made me like sparkle with pride.
Like a vampire? Yeah. Like a Twilight vampire?
I was hoping it came out, and I said, maybe no one will notice that I said sparkle.
In this crowd? Seriously?
Like I said,
awfully optimistic of you.
We've got a member of our staff who knows how many times the shoot the real one trope has been used in Star Trek from memory, and you think we're not going to catch something as obvious as that?
That was my fondest memory.
Getting compared to Twilight with sparkles.
Basically.
Let's see. My fondest memory on the show, I would have to say, would be I think that had to be when we did the 100th episode, just the whole thing, because that was a lot of fun. It was great to have Kabo back on the show, and I finally got to see what happens when I put him and Brian in the same room together. and have them, argue about which is better, Superman Returns or Man of Steel. I thought was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'd say when we did the 100th episode, that was my fondest memory of the show. So, and Sam's got a second question, which is, do you guys have any particular plans or desires for the next 5 years? So, which I think is being very generous, that he thinks that we have the patience to deal with each other for another half a decade. And the room goes completely dead.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, who's going to answer this? Who's going to start off with? You know what this reminds me, though? This reminds me of job interview questions, where they ask you, where do you see yourself in the company in 5 years? I'm not really sure how to answer the question, besides still doing the same thing, better. Like, that's kind of how I feel. It's like, I still want to keep doing this, but better. Okay.
Skyblaze, what about you?
Kind of doing the same thing, as just kind of doing this and doing it better and bigger and to more people and having lots of fun.
For me, you know what? Like I said, like I said a year ago when we did the 100th episode. I mean, this is my passion. This is my big project here, and I've got a lot of stuff on the burner that I'm cooking up to go with this. And
like meth.
Huh?
Like meth.
Yes, except fewer chances of explosions if I fuck things up. Less property damage. But like I said, I mean, this is my passion. But you know what? Even if none of those projects take off, I mean, you guys are like family to me, and just being able to do this every week with you guys is just such a thrill. That if it's possible for me to do this until I die, then that's what I'm gonna do.
And we'll die poor, but we'll die nonetheless.
Yeah, and then and now I have this image in my head of all of us 70 plus years old sitting and doing this podcast over holograms or something, and be like oh, that Final Fantasy 23, oh, it's nothing like it was in my day. So that's an amusing image. But anyway, so that's the first question. Next question here, I think Skyblaze is going to kick out of. It is from Ryan, and he asks all of us, do you guys read fan fiction, and if so, do you have any favorites? So, Skyblaze, your evil laughter tells me that either you're about ready to raise Cthulhu, or you want to answer first.
Okay, not only do I read fanfiction, I've written fanfiction since about 1999. I have, let's see, about 45 fanfics published at the moment online. Yeah, thereabouts, including one that's about 35,000 words and isn't finished. I'm Skyblaze on fanfiction.net, in case you weren't aware. My favourite fanfiction, well, easily one of my favourites is by my friend and writing partner, Taranea, who writes spectacularly beautiful stories. She's a Sonic writer, and probably my favourite of hers is Life Could Have Been So Different, which is basically the story of Shadow's backstory, and it's beautiful. But seriously, you should check her stuff out because it's amazing. So go and read her stuff because it's really good. Forgotten Muse is very good as well for Sonic stuff. There's a couple of... There's a really good post-Spider-Man 2 fanfic called Just a Face on a Train, which is very good. And there's some Doctor Who fics that I know which are very good. Let's see if I can find some. Oh, and if you're a fan of Knight Rider, anything by Elfin. Particularly Soul Survivor and Fire and Ice, which is something that she wrote with another writer. Spectacular stuff. So yeah, they're worth checking out.
Kat, what about you? Any particular fanfic that you read or enjoy?
I haven't read fanfiction in like 10 years or so. Mostly because I started writing fanfic and I don't finish anything or publish anything. But I did used to enjoy a lot of Slayer's fanfiction, particularly one called Zelgadis on the Couch, followed by Zelgadis on the Road, I believe it was. Both of those were really good, fun, interesting fanfictions that had accompanying fan art by this really awesome Korean artist, and it was all very good, and I liked it a lot. But that was like 10 years ago, and I haven't really read anything since.
Okay, Brian, what about you? Do you read any fanfic?
I'm kind of in Kat's boat. I haven't read fanfiction in a very, very long time. I used to way back, probably about 12 years or so. was the last time I think I actually went out and decided I was going to read. I just fell out of practice. And I honestly can't remember any like stories that jumped out at me. There were probably some really good ones I read. And if you wrote them, great job. I wish I could remember them, because I can't, unfortunately.
I don't read fanfic regularly, although occasionally I'll go on like I'll be struck by like go like on a binge. Right now I'm actually in the middle of the Phoenix Wright fanfiction binge because I just finished Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, which is amazing. If you have a 3DS, you owe it to yourself to get this game. So I'm kind of on a Phoenix Wright binge right now. I've written some of my own fanfic, mostly Warhammer 40k centered, but I've never finished anything, although I've got a lot of notes and background material that I've drummed up. But yeah, nothing that's ever seen the light of day, and probably never will. And our last question here is going to be a bit of a quick one. It's from Danny, and he asked all of us, is there an aspect of geekdom that you will never understand?
Furries. Sorry, I jumped that gun really hard. Furries.
Okay. Skyblaze, what about you? What's an aspect of geek culture that you will never understand?
I don't understand shipping wars. I don't understand that. Like, okay, fine. You think that this couple is great together, and you like writing stories about them and fan art of them, whatever. That's wonderful. But kind of attacking somebody else for liking a different pairing, or worse, attacking the show writers for not including your pairing, is just fucked up, and I don't understand it. I never have, and I never will. You know, each to their own, and not everyone's going to agree on everything. But, you know, the show writers write it their own way, and you write your fanfiction your way. These two things can coexist. It's okay.
Brian, what about you?
First one, what Kat said, what Skyblaze said, and myself would be, I guess, the purists. I don't understand purist things. I've been seeing this a lot lately because I got into Super Sentai the last couple of years, so I see people who despise Power Rangers because of what Power Rangers is as an adaptation and things like that. So only the purists from Japan is the greatest things. And no offense to those people who love the shows from Japan. Some things I've seen are complete shit. Like, yeah, they're really good. And they can also be really bad. Just like our stuff. We're more alike than you realize.
Let's give peace a chance. Well, I'll round off by saying yaoi fangirls scare the hell out of me.
Yes, they are frightening.
They terrify me. The both times I've been to a convention, I've seen them wandering around with their paddles, and I'm just like, no, please, no, don't come near me with that.
You obviously haven't been to a convention in a while. Most of those things have been banned.
Then someone needs to tell the staff of this year's Katsucon that, because I saw a couple of them floating around. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So yeah, yaoi fangirls frighten the hell out of me. And that's all the Ask Geek questions that we have for this week. As always, you can send them to us through the email at billysmith@channelawesome.com, or drop them in the That Guy with the Glasses forum thread of the same name. Personally, we'd prefer if you'd send them to us through the email. It's a little easier for us to keep track of them that way. And also, if you're a member of our Facebook faithful, Engineer Tom is kind enough to set up a Ask a Geek thread on the Facebook every week, so you can go ahead and submit your questions there. And, you know, we take the best ones and read them on the air. Don't get discouraged if we don't answer your question. Like, as you see, we only answer a few every week, so go ahead. Don't be afraid to resubmit a question that you've asked before that hasn't been answered. And with that, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, so we're going to jump right into our headlines, starting this week with Brian. So, Brian, take it away.
Thank you. And here are some of the headlines across the multiverse. Dynamite has introduced a digital discount bundles that are offering DRM-free digital comics. They launched a digital website at dynamite.com/digital. The first 5 books that are featured are going to go for $5. They are Vampirella, Garth Ennis' The Shadow, Mark Waid's Green Hornet, Red Sonja, and Kirby Genesis. More books will be available at a later date. They're doing this to help promote new readers. Death of Wolverine was supposed to be this month's big event for Marvel, having the issues come out weekly. But something has happened to the books, and the issue 3 of the series has been pushed back until the first week of October. As a result, this has pushed back all the last issues and many of the tie-in issues as well into October. The only tie-in so far that has been unaffected has been Nightcrawler number 7. It could just be that there's no spoilers in that issue, so it was able to run at its regular pace. Still on the subject of Death of Wolverine, there were some questions on how this could affect books like, say, Wolverine and the X-Men. How would this book go on with the title character gone? Well, we learned that the series was actually going to end in November, answering that question. But not too long after the announcement was an announcement of a new series with a new lead. The new lead is going to be Spider-Man himself, calling the book Spider-Man and the X-Men. There is some speculation that this book will have a rotating leads and names, much in the same way as Batman and Robin became Batman and insert guest star name here when Robin first died. But that has yet to be confirmed. So this new series, Spider-Man and the X-Men, will start out in November. DC has a number of variant covers going on lately in these past several months, and yes, they have another one coming up. This time though, Darwin Cook is going to be doing a number of covers in landscape style for a number of DC books. The covers can be seen on many different websites, and they're all wonderful to look at in their own right. Now, I am saying this as a Cook fan. I'm pretty sure I would buy a phone book if the art was on the cover. I just want to let my bias be known. There's no clue yet if these variant covers are going to be the buffet style variant covers that we've seen in the past, where you have to ask your comic shop to order it if you really like it and they'll get it for you. I haven't seen that happening very often, but they have done it the last several times. They did it for the Bombshell covers. They may be doing it again to sort of help out and not overburden comic book shops with number of issues, say like a 12-to-1 or a 100-to-1 and things like that. Again, I'm not really sure. I have to look at the solicitations a little bit closely when they come out.
Well, without further ado, let's dive into the movie bin and see what we've got this week. Today in my might as well just retitle this superhero news segment, I'm bringing you yet another clusterfuck of comic book related headlines. So take notes, ladies and gents, it's all Marvel and DC this week. Again. First off, the big one. The official plot synopsis of Avengers Age of Ultron has been released. And here it is, verbatim, in my best dramatic movie voice. When Tony Stark tries to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program, things go awry, and Earth's mightiest heroes, including Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Incredible Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, are put to the ultimate test as the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. As the villainous Ultron emerges, it is up to the Avengers to stop him from enacting his terrible plans, and soon uneasy alliances and unexpected action pave the way for an epic and unique global adventure. Already that phrase, dormant peacekeeping program, has people speculating about Ant-Man having at least a small part to play in the proceedings. At least the original Hank Pym, being played by Michael Douglas in the upcoming Ant-Man movie, before he handed the Ant-Mantle off to Scott Lang. The speculation is based on the fact that, well, in the original comics, Ultron was actually invented by Hank Pym, so it's really all speculation, but we'll see, huh? What isn't speculation is the announcement of another Marvel character's inclusion in the upcoming Agent Carter series, and it's one we've seen before, sort of. Oh, why keep you in suspense? It's Jarvis. Not the ubiquitous AI that basically runs all of Tony Stark's tech in the movies, but the flesh and blood butler of his father, Howard Stark, upon whom Tony apparently patterned the AI after. Makes sense to me, as the character originated as a real-life butler in the comics anyway. He'll be played by James Darcy rather than Paul Bettany, who voices him in the films. On the subject of TV shows, DC has quite a lot on its plate in the small screen right now. First off, a brief little snippet about Arrow, which multiple news sources announced would begin streaming its second season on Netflix on September 14th, you know, this past Sunday, and which many disappointed subscribers, including yours truly, discovered not to be the case. It appears that Arrow Season 2 will actually begin streaming on October 8th, just in time for the Season 3 premiere. That's, kinda shitty synergy there, guys, but, oh well. Who am I to tell Hollywood what to do? But DC is apparently not yet content with its TV docket. In addition to Arrow, Flash, Gotham, and Constantine, there are apparently also plans for a live-action Teen Titans series. So far, it's pretty early in development, with no network or stars attached, and the only confirmed characters are Nightwing, Starfire, and Raven, but it might be interesting to see if this manages to attract a loyal fan following like the anime-influenced cartoon series did. Finally, and most unusually though, there's a Vertigo character who's apparently about to get his own series on Fox, and this is bound to stir some controversy for multiple reasons. No, it's not the Sandman, even though he's the first name that people usually associate with Vertigo, but you're close. It's Lucifer. As in, the ruler of hell, Prince of Darkness, all that business. Very specifically, this is going to be based on the Vertigo Comics version of Lucifer, which is itself a spin-off of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, in which the Morning Star grows tired of reigning in hell, gives up the office to someone else, and goes off to open a bar/nightclub in LA. You know, as you do. Fox is apparently committed to at least airing a pilot, so look forward to this one being protested by religious groups. And worse, picked apart for not sticking to the source material by fanboys. And that's it for your movie news.
At a screening of his latest The Next Generation Pat Labor film, director Oshii Mamoru questioned Ghibli co-founder Suzuki Toshio on the future of the studio. Suzuki admitted the company is in need of restructuring, emphasizing the difficulties in deciding what to produce and who should be the one to produce it. He proposed the idea of looking for staffers from other countries, mentioning the talents to be found in other Asian nations, some of whom have worked for Pixar and now have their own studios. Suzuki dodged Oshii's question on the possibility of firing at least some of Ghibli's current animation team, though he did state that the entire animation team would not be scrapped. Oshii also brought up the idea of Gainax co-founder Anno Hideaki taking Miyazaki's seat. Suzuki reaffirmed that Miyazaki and Anno have always had a master and pupil relationship, but didn't hint one way or the other if Anno would ever come on board. Suzuki did agree that it would be appropriate for Anno to direct a sequel for Nazca of the Valley of the Wind, which Anno was an animator for shortly before the founding of Ghibli. Unfortunately, Suzuki's dodging of questions doesn't really seem to bode well for the famed studio. From this, we can gather that at minimum there will likely be layoffs in the near future, though it would be pretty cool if Ghibli started collaborating with foreign studios in Thailand or Korea, hopefully sharing ideas and borrowing producers, but not hopefully outsourcing labor. In any case, the situation doesn't seem as favorable as when we talked about it on the show. Last week saw the passing of yet another old staple of the American anime industry. Anime Nation has officially closed its doors as a retailer. On a statement left on their site, Anime Nation spokesman Gene Field offered a heartfelt thanks to their customers and staff who have supported the shop over the last 20 years. At times it's been a dream come true, the message says. We've been doing this a long time though, and it's just time to move on to new and different challenges. Anime Nation will send out emails to customers with open orders regarding shipping, tracking, cancellations, and refunds. Anime Nation isn't disappearing entirely though. The site's forums and news blog as well as Facebook will continue going strong. They will also put more focus on their Rent Anime service, which allows subscribers to receive discs of anime in the mail, much like Netflix's DVD by mail service. And finally, for you music fans out there, check out the Music Asia, that's MUZIKAZAIA.com streaming site that launched over the weekend. It's kind of like Pandora, allowing you to stream songs and albums from Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, and China, along with some obligatory anime music. The site is French-based, but you can customize your language, and the streaming is free. Subscribers will be able to create playlists when all of the features roll out, and the promotional subscription price is set at €1 a month. The selection is still on the limited side, and they're still working out a few kinks on the site, but it is a nice place to go for newcomers to the Asian pop scene. And that's all I've got going on in the anime and manga world. Over to you, Dr. Gonzo.
Alright, and we are back, and longtime listeners will know that most of us, but Kat especially, are huge fans of the Last Airbender franchise, and Season 3 of The Legend of Korra just wrapped up a couple of weeks ago, and we decided we'd go back and do a recap and look back on Season 3, and also look over some rather surprising news that surfaced this weekend. So Kat, why don't you get us started off by giving a sort of an overall recap of the events of Season 3.
Okay, well, it takes place just, like, I think 2 weeks after Book 2 ended, which, Book 2 ended with this harmonic convergence, and lots of things happened, and, basically spirits are now in the human world. And, this has, for plot device-y reasons, and really not adequately explained, this has actually made more people into airbenders. It's some way of basically creating balance by making more airbenders to sort of even the numbers out a little bit. So the Avatar and Tenzin and his peoples basically just go around the world. Specifically, they head to the Earth Kingdom to find more airbenders who have suddenly emerged, because these are people who have never had bending before, and they have no idea why this is happening, so they need help. So they basically go on a life-changing field trip to go find airbenders, and one of the issues that arises is that a criminal who had been a very, very strong guy before has suddenly acquired airbending and uses his newfound powers to break out of prison and go get his friends, and they are now going to target the Avatar for death, basically.
So all these random earthbenders are just springing up all over the place. Man, if Amon was still around, he'd be pissed.
Well, it's airbenders, but yes.
I mean, that's a super Cliff Notes version of the show.
Yeah, there's way more into it. Lots of really amazing stuff happens this season.
So what were some standout moments from this season that you felt really grabbed you?
Some really good standout parts are basically the Beifong drama. Throughout season 1 and 2, one of your best side characters is Toph's daughter, Lin Beifong, who's this awesome cop lady, hard-ass, really, really cool metal bender. And this season, you get to meet her sister. And you get to see these contrasting metal benders, kind of like at each other's throats in a very my family is messed up sort of way. And you get to see all of Su Yin Beifong's family, and it's really cool. They have drama, and they work it out, and it's really nice just to have some family drama instead of romantic drama, which previous seasons have pushed on us. It was different, and you got to see a lot of backstory for Lin, which is something that I think fans have really wanted this entire time.
Not only that, like I like the fact that it was very almost like people who have siblings kind of know how siblings fight, and there are times where just the parents are like, just let them throw punches at each other, let it work it out of their system, and that's sort of what happened in the show. And I kind of smiled and laughed, like that's because my brother and I have done that several times in our lifetime, and literally like right after it happens, like, oh, okay, now we can talk. So it was very, very good, like, family growth for them. And then just one time, like, listen, just let them fight, because that's what they want at this point.
See, I'm still trying to get over the idea of Toph Beifong as a mother. Because you figure she's got to have raised these two, and I'm just like, what kind of mother would she have been? Like, I see her being just sort of I don't know. I see her as being sort of the cool mom, but also like I'm not going to take any. I don't see her having much of a patience to take a whole lot of shit from her kids.
You kind of get that out of the way she talks to them in some of the flashbacks, but then it's also interesting because they're half-sisters and they have different fathers, and it sort of makes you even more curious about, as much as I don't want to think about Toph's love life, I kind of want to think about Toph's love life, and like, did she marry more than once? Did she just never marry? Like, I'm curious. I want to know what happened. Another thing that I thought was really interesting about this season were the villains, because obviously the previous seasons have had good villains who were interesting but never fully, I feel, utilized. The first season with Amon they could have done more with Amon and it would have made it better. And then the second season got a little bit better with the villains, but this season had a lot more villains. And while I don't think they developed them too much, not as much as they could have, I thought the villains were very different than things that we've seen before in the past, because it is a group of them who are all friends, and then here's where we get the spoilers, guys. These are basically the White Lotus, but they're like evil White Lotus, except they're not really evil, they just think differently than the current iteration of the White Lotus, and they call themselves the Red Lotus, and they sort of have all of these plans that they want Korra to fulfill. And, you know, they had actually argued that, you know, back in the, like, when Korra was first named the Avatar, they wanted to train her and do all of this stuff. And so there's sort of like a weird, with the main villain, Zahir, there's sort of this weird, almost paternal feeling to him, where he's like, I wanted to train you and to do all of these things for you so that you would understand the way the world works and that there's cruelty and all this other stuff. And there's a lot of camaraderie between the four main villains, and it's a very interesting dynamic that we really haven't seen out of the villains before.
It's a lot of it is also like, because there was only like 4 of them that you were sort of following around, but they were all like really powerful benders in their own right. Then Zahir was like, no, I'm an airbender, and they're like, yay!
Mission complete. We have a full team. And
we've got the whole set.
Well, they had because one of them was like a water bender, but she was super powerful. Who actually she didn't have arms, but she would use water in place of her arm. I was like, that's badass.
That was actually really interesting, because that actually shows disability as something that is overcome through bending. I thought that was amazing.
Then you had I can't remember the fire mind benders who could just blow stuff up with their mind.
The presumably descendant of Sparky Sparky Boom Boom Man.
Sparky Sparky Boom Boom Man. But the reason that I think these were interesting is that while their eventual goal, you can argue, was an extremist goal of getting rid of like world leaders and just sort of having chaos, or not chaos, but
anarchy.
Anarchy. Like, that's super extreme, but at the same time, it's like, we're not doing this because we're evil. You know, I'm not twirling my mustache. I'm like, no, this is, like, this in place has ruined us. We're going to get rid of this, drive this, and like their message and how they wanted to do it was more interesting than what the actual, like, outcome of what was going to happen was, you know, the outcome was, anarchy, but the way they thought about it made you go, okay, these guys aren't bad. They have a plan, but the plan also involves some bad things, and they're okay with it, and now you're scared. Like, that's kind of how I saw it. Also, one guy could control lava.
Yeah.
And I said, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah. I thought that the lava, because he was an earthbender and not a firebender, was very, very interesting, because it brings up the idea of hybrid bending. Because when we get towards the climax, Bolin is actually able to bend the lava and save everybody, and he'd been trying to metal bend all this time, and he could never do it, and oh shit, he can bend lava instead. That is way cooler. But it kind of raises the question of, because Bolin had a firebender parent and an earthbender parent, is this a hybrid of bending, or is this just a super bending? Oh, that is such a great question. I'm really fascinated if they're going to introduce more like this later.
I mean, I'm also, like, cause I love Bolin. I absolutely love him. I think this season helped redeem him a little bit, because last season he was just stupid. I really hated that.
Yeah, he was very much the punchline of everything in the second book, and it was really nice for him to sort of have a story in this season, to have a journey and a goal, and to do all of those things.
All right, Kat, well, I know that you're going to hate me for asking this, given that you railed against this in the first 2 seasons, but I must ask, did they finally manage to excise, either surgically or otherwise, the malignant romance tumor that has been growing for the past couple of seasons? For there's really no other way to describe it, I am told. But as a cancer that taints everything else in the show.
The second season kind of ended with Mako and Korra breaking up, realizing that they're not really good for each other. And so this season kind of played on that in a good way. It was sort of like Mako kind of broke up with the Avatar, and he doesn't really know how to keep working with her and not be personal about it. So he's very awkward, and it's kind of funny because he's trying to not be personal, and he's trying to be the right amount of distant and the right amount of, I guess, professional and still be friends without making things awkward, and then he just ends up being awkward. And I think that was pretty funny. And then there had been an incident in the second season where right after Korra and Mako had broken up that Asami kind of went ahead and just kissed him, and then realized that was probably not a good idea, and she actually talked to Korra about it, and Korra was like, dude, I don't care, we're friends, stuff happens. And that was nice, because Korra doesn't really have a whole lot of female friends, and Asami is kind of awesome. So it was nice for them not to have any secrets from each other.
Well, not only that, I think like the relationship between Korra and Asami, like established so early in the season, like in 2 episodes, was like better than 2 seasons of romantic subplots. Because it was like we're buddies, we're good, we're friends, we're awesome, high five, girl power. Like, this is, can we have more of this? Like, I want this to be the show. Screw everyone else. This is the show. it's the Avatar and her super smart rich friend. You know.
I smell sitcom. So now I sadly have not had a chance to watch season 3. So now is Mako just kind of just doing his own thing now, or has he gone back to trying to convince Asami to get back with him?
No, he's not really trying to pursue any kind of relationship, which is nice. Again, they're sort of leaving the romance angle out this season because I think they finally understand that fans don't really want to see it. Or at least not crazy fangirls. Crazy fangirls want to see all the ships and all of that, and we're normal fans are just like, please get it out of my show. There's not enough episodes in a season to keep wasting time on this stuff when there's bad guys to beat up and bending to do and cool stuff. So I think that this season they were sort of like, let's scale it back. Don't do that stuff that we've been doing that people don't like anymore, and let's just make a cool season where people are running around having adventures. And it really, way more so than the previous 2 seasons, really captured the essence of the original Last Airbender series, where it was traveling and adventures, and it was exploring the world, which is something that I've felt the first 2 seasons really, really neglected, because that's what the whole of Avatar was, them running around the planet, going around and having adventures, and they didn't really do that in Korra. Even though they did travel, there wasn't traveling. There wasn't going many places and meeting many kinds of people, and I think this season they tried to do that a little bit more. Even though it was kind of a straight shot from one place to the next, and we didn't get to see too much outside of the Earth Kingdom, it was still really, really refreshing.
So now, I was also really impressed with The Last Airbender about its world building. How has the overall world changed outside of Republic City? Like, you know, how has the Earth Kingdom changed now versus the original series?
I'd like to say that it's changed, but very, very little. The queen, the Earth Queen, is the daughter of the king that I guess we had known in the previous series. And she's not a nice person, and the Earth Kingdom suffers a lot because of it. And this is a lot like how the Earth Kingdom had been portrayed previously, with huge gaps in like class gaps and status gaps, where the rich are very, very rich and the poor are very, very poor. And they're kind of separated from one another. And then there's the Dai Li, who are still around, and they're still ineffectively terrible. Gosh.
For a secret group that is like supposed to be super intimidating, they're terrible at their job.
Now,
we shall protect the queen. Fuck.
Pretty much. And so it was kind of interesting, because it really felt like that illusion that was broken in the second season about the Earth Kingdom being this great place, when you see the corruption of the Dai Li and the underground facilities where they brainwash people and how fucked up that was. And we kind of just get the same thing over again, where you're like, we're gonna go to the Earth Kingdom and find more airbenders and it's gonna be great, and then it totally sucked. and for almost all of the exact same reasons. And I didn't feel like that was a rehash so much as history repeating itself. I didn't feel like it was the directors being lazy or anything. It really felt like they were deliberately making history repeat itself just to show the human aspect of here's governments and they can be corrupted, and that's, you know, a whole lot of what our villains for this season were trying to change. They're saying, hey, look at your corrupt politicians and the very, very wealthy and how they step on other people below them. And so it was really great, even though it was a terrible place.
The center looks really nice. I mean, that's where all the rich people are.
Yeah.
Don't forget, you had to have a passport to travel between the rings. I was like, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. But then, outside of, you know, that immediate area, it was really interesting to see how metal bending and the proliferation of metal bending had actually changed cities. Especially in, wherever Su-Yin was living, with all of her huge metal bending family and teaching people how to metal bend. And the things that could be done with metal bending and the advances in technology that came about because of metal bending was really interesting to see in the show.
Now, are there any hints that we might see more of the world outside of the Earth Kingdom in future seasons?
Well, that's a really excellent question. It's kind of hard to tell because they just now, you know, announced that we're getting another season and that it's going to be released incredibly soon. We know that it's going to be called Balance, which I presume is going to be... I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'm hoping, because they've explored the Earth Kingdom quite a bit, and they've talked a lot about the Airbenders, and there was a whole fucking season about waterbenders fighting each other, so I think it's kind of safe to presume there will be an influx of firebenders in the next season, especially since book 3 reintroduced us to Zuko. Grandpa Zuko! Old man Zuko is awesome.
He owns a dragon.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it actually shows him with a dragon, which brings all kinds of other questions to the forefront. So I think we're probably gonna see more firebenders next season, or at least I hope we are, that we'll go to the Fire Nation and maybe see some of Zuko's family, you know, all this time later, and it would be really great. Hopefully there will be some more world building in the next season, because it's really fascinating.
And on that note, let's talk about that announcement that kind of just came out of nowhere, and we're still wondering if it's a joke or not.
Well, before we do that real quick, because I wanted to mention this because it didn't really come up in our discussions, this season was kind of violent as compared to the last several seasons. I'm not sure anyone else noticed that, but there were two very violent on-screen deaths.
And if we could just
one that actually
talk
made me
about
go
them for a minute, because they were actually kind of disturbing.
And one of them made me go, ah, because it was kind of like, what just happened? What's going on? Maybe this is why they sent it over to digital only. Because the Earth Queen gets suffocated on screen.
It wasn't like, you know, in the second season of the original Avatar, when Jet kind of dies off screen, and it's sort of assumed, but it's vague, and maybe he could have lived, but we all know he died. This is not that. This is like, here is the Earth Queen getting all of the air sucked out of her body.
And you see her like go all blue in the face and fall over dead.
She is suspended in the air while this is happening, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
It is really, really uncomfortable to watch. And it should be, because this is the first time where you just see somebody straight up murdered on screen. Not like, here's two people fighting and somebody falls off a cliff. This is like really, really murder. And it was so dark. And then the second character death, that you don't see, because they would have to actually change the rating of the show to R if they actually showed it on screen, is the Sparky Sparky Boom Boom girl, who gets a piece of armor metal bended around her head where she can fire blast from, and it is presumed that she blows her own head off.
Good lord!
Yeah, it was so strange because it's a fight between Lynn and her sister, and they're going back and forth. And it's a really fast fight. It's a really good fight, really well animated. And like the last thing, you see her about to like shoot out her power, and then the armor goes over her head. You kind of blink, you hear what just sounds like kind of an explosion, but there's this really obvious jump cut. And then you turn and you just see smoke rising where she was, and you're like, oh my god.
You know how like in the first book you were like did they just blow up the boat? Did that just happen? It was like that, except you know that it's just worse. It was so scary to think about. And I think this is a really interesting progression for the show, because the first season was so meh, and the second season was like, okay, and then the third season is so incredibly good, and it just sort of blows you away, everything that they're doing, and then you get to the last couple episodes, and it gets so dark, and you have to ask yourself, why did Nickelodeon pull this show off air and have it online only? And you sort of answer the question, because this kind of became no longer a show for kids and really became a show that should not probably air on that channel.
Don't say that, they might be listening and just cancel it outright.
The fourth book's already going to be up in a few weeks anyway.
So the show stepped it up a couple notches then.
It really did, and I think it's kind of interesting because it feels like Avatar was directed at a much younger audience, and that's why it starred younger characters. And then the show kind of grew with the audience so that they had older characters, which sort of catered to the fact that their audience had grown up. And then this is like the Deathly Hallows. Like how Harry Potter gets really hella dark at the end. That's what this did. Where it started off kind of normal and got really, really dark. And I really think that had to have been one of the major influences of why Nickelodeon pulled it off air, especially when they did. They kind of caught it early, and they got, I think, maybe halfway through the season before they're like, whoa, we've just saw the final tapes, and we can't have kids watching this. Somebody blew her own head off.
This does not belong on the same channel as SpongeBob SquarePants.
Which is what they replaced it with, I think. So,
it does make you wonder what book 4 is going to be.
Yeah.
Especially since it's coming in a couple weeks. I'm still not over that.
That is insane. It really is insane.
I actually have a theory. Like,
well,
I think...
Before we go into the theory, what were the specific details of the announcement? Because I'm just hearing about this now.
I don't have the announcement in front of me, but it was basically, Book 4 is coming, and it's coming in October. Yay!
Yeah.
And then everyone went, huh?
They just announced on the 10th that their official air date is October 3rd.
Now, is this going to be an on-air debut, or is this going to be digital only?
I think this is... If I remember correctly, one of the reasons they pulled it off the air was that one of the announcement when it pulled off the air, because it was so sudden, people thought it was canceled. They say, no, it's not canceled, it's online, and it's probably going to stay online for the future. So, yeah, it's going to air, and it's going to air on their website, most likely.
Yeah. I think the show, it probably just works better online than it does on air, because originally they had been airing it, I think, on Saturday mornings, your typical cartoon time, and then they had changed it to Friday nights for this book, and I think they weren't getting the ratings, like, at all, because the audience who's interested in this show, which is a little bit older now, are doing shit on Friday nights, and nobody's actually probably watching it as it airs. A lot of people were probably just going back and watching it online or watching their DVR'd version of it, and not really watching the airing time. And so it probably didn't get a whole lot of really good ratings because of the time that it was placed at, which I think it was placed at that time because the content was starting to get a little mature and really was getting less appropriate for the Saturday morning cartoon age group. So I think they changed the times, didn't get the ratings that they really expected, and saw the later content and went, you know what, let's just make this online. And if you are old enough to get onto Nick.com with your parents' consent, then by all means watch it.
Right.
Brian, you said you had a theory or so about this about this.
Well, the theory is, and like have a turnaround like this so quick made me kind of tilt my head. But my theory I was thinking about is like I bet you what happened was that they actually like season 4 is only season 4 because as they were probably writing season 3, they sort of looked at the story and said, this would work better shorter. So they finished off the story of the Red Lotus. Not they didn't finish it off, but they finished off these characters anyway at the right time.
Yes, they did.
At the right time, and they said, okay, so that's season 3, and then we have the rest of these episodes, which is probably going to be another 13 episodes or so. That could be season 4 because it's a complete different story, it's a different follow-up. If we put them together, it wouldn't mesh well because the end of season 3, you had a lot of different changes going on. Korra got poisoned by metal poison, which doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. And so she has to recover from that. So I think it was a lot of they wrote one big season, said, this is not going to work. Season 3, Season 4, and that's why you have such a big turnaround.
My guess is that that they had already been licensed or given the go-ahead, the green light for another book, and they just went ahead and just kept going.
Let's go ahead and start wrapping this up by asking, what are some things that you'd like to see in Season 4?
Well, I kind of like my prediction. I'd like to see more of the Fire Nation, and I'd like to see the Fire Lord, the current Fire Lord, because Zuko's daughter. How cool is that? I kind of want to see more where Zuko got a dragon from, that sort of thing. I'm really interested with what they're going to do with Korra's character because she did not exactly have a happy ending for that season. You could tell she was very depressed. She could possibly be crippled, we don't know. So I don't have any real wants or desires for that, except I'm just really, really anxious to see what they're going to do with her.
I want to see the Fire Nation because we haven't seen the Fire Nation for so long. The last time we saw the Fire Nation, they were at war, So it'd be interesting to see the Fire Nation be at peace. So that's kind of where I want to go, and I want to see Bolin lava bend his ass off because that's amazing.
Lava blend.
Lava blend his ass off. Lava blend. He's gonna lava
sounds like
blend.
a Slurpee flavor.
He's gonna earth shake, and Mako is gonna be Mako.
All right, well that's all the time that we have for Nerd of the Third Power this week. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you as always for tuning in. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the cat.
And I'm Brian.
All right, we'll see you next week. Taka, play us out.
Lava blend. I am so amused.